Hello, everyone. My name is Jacob Fortin. I'm the host of this podcast, Doers Within Emerging Markets. And I just want to share my experience with using Anchor so far. When the pandemic started, I thought about starting a podcast, and the whole idea was to bring in some really amazing folks that are doing some great work in their respective industries within the emerging markets. And the Anchor platform really helped me get the word out there and also just make it a lot easier for me to invite the guest and just share the amazing experiences they've had and the amazing work they're doing in their respective industries within the emerging markets. Um, it's pretty fun. You don't even worry about the technical part of making a podcast. You actually just focus more on the content. And Anchor has done it really well for me. So I will highly encourage anybody who is trying to start a podcast to try to use. Just check out Anchor, and I think you won't regret it. I'm not a technical person, but if you listen to these episodes that I've been publishing so far, it seems like I know what the technical part of it, but Anchor helps you take care of the technical part, and you just focus on the content. So feel free to check it out. I highly encourage you won't regret it, and it's right there. You don't pay anything. So in times like this, I think starting a podcast and getting the word out there, irrespective of what you're doing, will be a really great experience. So thank you guys for listening to my episodes. Please check out Anchor, and you will have a great time. So cheers, guys, and see you guys next episode. Thanks. Hello, everyone. So welcome to Time for Emerging Markets, Doers Within Emerging Markets. I'm humbled and excited to have JJ. I call him JJ, but his name is Jeezrel Punzalan. And such an amazing guy. I met him in South Korea 2 years ago, while I was working and volunteering as one of the organizers for APYE Korea, one of the mentors rather, and it was such an exciting opportunity, and I was really, really humbled and fortunate to meet JJ. And we are here with JJ, and he is just an amazing guy. Has a great story, based in the Philippines, and it's just really awesome to have him. So, welcome, JJ. How are you today?
All right. Hello, Jacob, and hello to everyone listening to this podcast. It is actually my first time to be featured in a podcast, which makes this very, very exciting for me. Hello, everyone. From my side of the world, it's actually 2 in the morning as we record this, but I hope that all of you guys are comfortable when you're listening to this after this is published. My name is JJ Punzalan, and currently I am 21 years old, and I have devoted 3 years of my career working for the development sector. So that means working with capacity building program for young people, where I met Jacob, and then eventually working for for an international organization such as Plan International, where I was the young professional officer for the Asian Development Bank and Plan International Partnership. After that, I've decided that since the pandemic has been giving us, the biggest headaches these days, like my friend and I, my best friend and I actually thought of actually starting our own business since it's been in incubation for almost a year now. And with that, I proudly introduce you to Hibla Community. So Hibla Community Incorporated is a small business which just started September of 2020. So we are a small business based here in the Philippines whose goal is to really follow the social enterprise model of business so that we would be able to support everyone around us with the best and the ethical and the most dignified kind of job and work experience. So right now, Hibla Community Incorporated is doing business as Magiting Coffee Manila. So Magiting is a Filipino word which means noble. So this is Magiting Coffee Manila, and we've been happily serving fresh single origin specialty coffee nationwide in the Philippines for almost 4 months now, and things have been doing great. So thank you so much, Jacob, for inviting me here today to talk about the best practices and our points to improve on as well.
Amazing, amazing. And he's just 21 years old. And but by the way, thank you for staying up at 2 a.m. to do this. I'm sure.
I know, Jacob. I drank Sprite for this.
So excited, and thank you so much. So, but before we get into Hibla, I just wanted to let the listeners just learn a little bit about yourself. How was it like growing up? Who are the people that really kind of give you the support for you to become who you are today, such an
Mhm.
amazing entrepreneur. If you can just share a little bit with us, what it was like growing up in the Philippines, and I mean, there are some of the mentors that you have had along the way.
All right. So, actually, I grew up in many places. So, first, I grew up in my province, which is Batangas. That's where I was born. And I was with my grandmother back then up until I was 4 years old, I think. I may not fully remember everything that happened during those childhood years, but I still believe that that really put a very important foundation on who I was and who I would think, because growing up with my grandmother and growing up with the whole community, it just felt like it really took a village to raise a child, and that's how it felt like in the province. And then eventually I moved to the city with my parents because education is so much better in the city. And then growing up, I think I was basically your funny kid, like I'm not that star student like how usual people are, like the straight A's. I was
Yeah.
doing good in school, but not the ultimate valedictorian straight A's. I was always the funny guy, but my teachers would always comment uh, on how empathetic I am. It's like on how
Yeah.
much I could relate to people, on how much I could get on their soft side to let them be comfortable around me. And growing up, I was really, as you can see right now, I'm very talkative. So growing up, I
Yeah.
was the same. I'm really a person of communication. I love talking to people, and um, I think growing up, what was really in my head growing up was, when I grow up, I wanted to have career where I would be able to help people, because at the time I didn't know about development work. I just knew that if you want to help people, then that will be volunteer. It can't be a career. It's just a volunteer thing, until back in 2018 when I was introduced to the Asia Pacific Youth Exchange. And that's when I realized, like, oh my goodness, this is what I've been wanting all my life.
Yeah.
Helping, it's like helping other people, but at the same time, making sure that you are also helping yourself by building yourself financially, economically and physically and all that. So, growing up as an adult, I was able to be mentored by people around my network who were really inspirational. And I think that's what really pushed me eventually to, take, as what we say in Magiting Coffee, to take the fearless step of being an entrepreneur, especially in a time like this in the pandemic.
And that's amazing. And I mean, just other things that I've really admired about you, in addition to just who you've become. You're a very confident person. You're very, very funny. I know you made me laugh. So you made me laugh so much in when I was in South Korea, and it was such a pleasure to have you among our midst. And it's something that actually transcends most of the other amazing work you're doing at Hibla Community, which we're gonna hear in a few minutes. Just talk a little bit about, like, who are the people that, like, how did you get into entrepreneurship? I mean, you mentioned APYE,
Hmm.
but how did entrepreneurship become a thing? Sometimes we really wrestle with whether we're entrepreneurs or not, but
Hmm.
how did that how did this journey really come to fruition beyond before Hitler? What was the thing that really convinced you to kind of be on this path, right?
Well, to be honest with you, I never saw myself in business. Like
Yeah.
I knew I would be doing something great. I just knew that. I don't know what it would be when I was a kid, but I just knew that I was destined for something. Although I was always praying to God that I hope that this something would be good for everyone, not just for me. But growing up, I never saw myself in business until APYA happened, and we've been taught on how important it is to be social entrepreneurs. And
Exactly.
I think the cultivation that APYE has done to me as a young person, as part of the youth force, that has greatly helped in convincing me to become an entrepreneur. Because eventually in the world, you realize that it's just two things. Sometimes you grow up without privilege, and on the other side of the coin, you grow up with privilege. And for some reason, I grew up with privilege, and what should I do with that privilege? That's when I realized it's my turn to extend that privilege to people who don't have that, and make sure that they would also get um, at least their shot in the future.
Yeah.
So that's how the trajectory happened. That's how I decided to become an entrepreneur. And at the same time, I wasn't doing all of this alone.
Yeah.
There were always people behind my back supporting me. There, um, I had mentors who were really honest with me and my ideas on how to make them better. And at the same time, of course, I have my best friend who is also my co-founder in Hibla Community. And what I like about our synergy is we think differently, but our goals are the same.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And I think that's very important for I am saying this story because I'm not like the other star entrepreneurs out there who are, the hot shots,
Yeah.
best in finance, good in math, and all that, have this grew up with, the Lamborghinis and stuff. Like I'm not that. I'm this normal kid from the Philippines who had a dream and who had a heart for other people. And if you are like me, then I would suggest that it's a very good step to make sure that you allow yourself to be open to criticism, and be open to criticism from people you trust, from your friends.
Yeah.
A support system is important because without a support system, you won't be able to stand on your own feet confidently, right? So
Yes.
I think that's
Definitely.
very important.
And that's, I think you've inspired a lot of people right now with that. And not just in Asia, but in Africa, in the United States, with those very you're so you're very knowledgeable, and you actually have some keen insights on how we need to kind of present ourselves, especially in the space of
Mhm.
entrepreneurship. But I love the fact that that process of becoming one was something that was based on social impact. So that's really humbling, and thanks so much for being vulnerable to share that. So now to get into the exciting part, can you tell us a little bit about Hibla Community? Um, Yes.
All right. So we've been very excited, really, really, to share with you guys a little story about Hibla Community because for starters, Hibla Community was actually an idea that my best friend and I had in October 2019. I still remember that because I invited her to join me to go to our province because we had a little celebration back then. And then we realized, hey, we have been working for the development sector for about 2 years now, and yet we still haven't done something for our home community. Like in my case, how come I was able to fly to Korea? How come I am able to fly to different parts of the Philippines and yet still not do anything for my community? When in fact I am already equipped with, like the knowledge and the
Sure.
network and the opportunities to be able to start something. So that's when Hibla Community started. So my best friend and I thought, okay, let's not rush things, and let's start of thinking different ideas on what could end up helping this community. And then eventually, because the goal for Hibla Community is to first start in one small community, and then eventually replicate this model to other communities, focusing on their own strengths. So, for example, the community that we chose at the time was my hometown, and my hometown focused solely on agriculture, and the women were really good at the ready-made garment industry. They were
Mm,
good at sewing.
mm, mm.
So at the time, excuse me, at the time, what we really thought was, okay, we need to, oh wow, I'm burping a lot, sorry. So
No,
at
it's
the
all good.
time, we really need to revitalize this whole sewing industry, and maybe we could do something about it. So that's how the whole idea of Hibla community started. But of course, because COVID-19 happened,
Yes.
because the pandemic locked us in our houses,
Yeah.
we couldn't really go and step into the communities, because even the people of the community were hesitant to welcome us because we were from the city and we might bring the virus to them. And most of the people in the community were elderly and they are high risk for the virus. So we
Yeah.
chose to switch it up a bit,
Mhm.
and we tried to think of what could be the best possible option for us to start Hibla Co
Yeah.
without actually putting at risk to the lives of the people.
Yep.
And so that is when Magiting Coffee Manila happened. So before I tell you guys about Magiting Coffee Manila, I'll give you guys a little background about why we call it Hibla Community.
Exactly. That was my
So,
question.
okay, so um, well, Hibla Community is Hibla Community is abbreviated through the word Hibla Co. So what does that mean? So the word Hibla is a Tagalog word, like a Filipino word, which means fiber, and community is a collective group of people. Now, ko is a possessive noun in the Tagalog language, which means to claim ownership of something. So Hibla ko follows the principle of how cloth is made, starting with a single fiber, hibla, and when woven together by a community, turns into something more beautiful. So that's why we named it Hibla Community. So when one says Hibla ko, it echoes Hibla ko, and in English, that translates to my fiber. So that's a community of single fibers creating a beautifully woven cloth. So that's why we call it Hibla Co. So at the end of it all, that is the heart of Hibla Co, empowering people, especially mothers, especially women, especially young people, to create lasting impact in a specific industry with their individual yet collective contributions. So um, that is why if you look at our logo here, we have logos presented here on our Zoom. This
Definitely.
one is this is what I've been telling you guys about. So you can see this is Hibla Community,
Yes.
but you can abbreviate it to here. You can
Yes.
abbreviate it to Hibla Co. So when you say Hibla Co, it's like the abbreviation of Hibla Community, but in my language, Hibla Co also means my fiber. And so
Beautiful.
here at the left side, this is what we are. So Hibla Community is a community enhancing community.
Mhm.
So Hibla Co is a community enhancing community, which means that if one person is empowered, it's a chain reaction and everyone else will be empowered.
So
That's what
it's
we that is the main goal of Hibla Community. I think even if, for example, God blesses us with the opportunity to expand, to greater heights and to be a big business enterprise. I think that would always be the heart of Hiblaco, to make sure that we are a community enhancing community, because without that, then the whole purpose of social entrepreneurship would be gone.
definitely, man, this is so beautiful, and I love the fact that we're talking about this before we got on the podcast, but it is incredibly beautiful, and I think that transcends into the products you're making. And when we get into the coffee community enhancing community is, I think that's really beautiful. And can you just talk a little bit about the picture at the back? Right, you mentioned to me.
Oh, okay. So actually, you guys, this picture at the back, this is actually my province right now. This is my view in my province. So I live in Batangas. I live in San Luis, Batangas, and this is my province. This is the view that we have every sunrise. So the
Mm,
field that you see is
mm,
part of our agriculture resource, which is sugarcane, where we create where sugar comes from and other candied goods. And we also have trees for mangoes, and we have a lot of coconuts as well. So this view, I could have easily gotten a beautiful picture at Pinterest,
yeah.
but I was reminded that if I want things to be very organic, I really had to get it from where Hibla community started. So that's why I chose this picture.
Oh man, everything is just beautiful. Thank you. Thanks for giving a background about background information about that. And going now into the coffee, tell us a little bit about this coffee, Magiting Coffee Manila. Would love to hear more.
All right. So, Magiting Coffee Manila is, let's say, Hibla community is doing business as Magiting
Mm,
Coffee Manila. So we present our brand to our target market as Magiting Coffee Manila. So Magiting Coffee Manila is a small business that offers single origin specialty coffee nationwide and hopefully eventually abroad when things have been better. So how do we do how do we do Magiting Coffee Manila? So first is we have our partner farm also based in Batangas, since you remember how I mentioned that we couldn't actually work with my community because of the restrictions of COVID. So
yeah.
with that, we transitioned to looking for a partner farm in the same province that we could work with to source our coffee. So right now we are partnered with a farm in Lipa, Batangas, which is also the same province as my hometown. And we have one staff. So her name is Ate Mercy. And Ate Mercy is a part of our very small workforce. So there's only three of us right now, which is very exciting. And
Okay.
what we love about this working environment is Ate Mercy is also, since she is also our staff,
Mhm.
she is also part of our profit distribution. So aside from the fact that we earn something from Magiting Coffee monthly, a portion of our profits would also be stored for the sake of Ate Mercy, so that we are already practicing this right now, even if we're still a very small business, so that this would be a best practice eventually when we transition to become bigger in the future, in the long run. So
Yeah.
we want to make sure that the process would be authentic and true from the start, even as we progress. So right now, even if let's say we are gaining not that much yet, since Magiting Coffee has been only starting, has only been up for about 4 months. We have already been practicing this method of profit distribution with our staff, with our beneficiaries, to make sure that eventually in the long run, we would learn how to better use this to be effective for our business model.
That is amazing. I mean, profit sharing at the very start, I think that's the right way to go. And that's a right business, social impact business way of thinking. And so excited you guys started at the very beginning. Just going out to a little bit of logistics. How is it like getting the coffee from the farm, to processing it, to getting in the packages? Like, can you just share a little bit about that? Um,
All right. So this is how the process goes. So first is of course we talk to our partner farm, and then we arrange the logistical manner because from where we are based, Magiting Coffee is actually based in Manila right now, which is the capital city, and that's around 100 kilometers away from the province. So we talk with our partners, and they send the coffee to us directly to our storage facility, which is also my home. And then we have given a special room in my home to make sure that the coffee is sanitized, to make sure that the coffee is well stored and all that. And so when the coffee arrives, people can start ordering our coffee either through Instagram or this e-commerce platform called Shopee. So that's where people order our coffee online. When an order arrives, Ate Mercy packs our orders. So I tally them on our sheet, and then after a day, a courier service will pick up our coffee and deliver it to our customers. So the whole process of ordering your coffee and waiting and arriving to your doorstep is only about a day and a half. So
That's good.
if you live within the capital city and its neighboring cities, then it would only take you a day and a half. If you live from the province, then probably 3 to 4 days, but it still is fast. And to make sure that the coffee will be as fresh as it was when we first grind it for you, our packaging, we really invested with our packaging. So first, we make sure that our packaging is opaque to make sure that the oils from the coffee will remain inside the coffee beans until you brew it. And then our packaging is sealed with a foil lining to make sure that no light enters our packaging. We then seal it and make sure that it's sealed twice with a heat press so that no air would enter your package. So when you open your coffee, it would still be the same aromatic and fresh coffee the way we prepared it for you. So that's how
That's
we do it.
that's so exciting. And I'm looking forward to putting an order in the nearest future. I think I'm excited about it. How you can get
Yes,
that.
don't worry, Jacob. I think we're doing our best to come up with a solution on leaving the e-commerce platform Shopee and
Mhm.
eventually establish our own website so that it will be easier for people to order even overseas. So we're still praying and we're still working hard to make sure that happens in the future.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I can't wait for that. Is there